So there are a lot of military service people who are very, very concerned about being mandated. They don't like to be, they don't want to be coerced. Maybe they have questions like we've described. What's the reality in DOD?
Yeah, so look, having served both as a civilian operationally and then as chief of staff leading the Department of Defense, I know lots of these individuals. I have lots of friends that are still in service, and I've talked to them privately about it. They're like, I'm not taking the vaccine, you know? And this is going to come down to a situation where, you know, Joe Biden has issued a mandate for the military to either be vaccinated or what? They're going to relieve you of command and kick you out of the military? You know, that's going to court if that happens. But I think my prediction is Joe Biden's going to blink. Because here's the one thing the military doesn't do. They don't, or most of the military at least, they don't care about the politics. But what they do want the ability to do is to choose what's best health-wise for them and their family, right? These folks have families, so if they get a vaccine, how does it impact their family and things like that? Look, I've talked to a lot of my buddies in the Special Forces community, okay, that I served with, and a lot of them don't want to take and have not taken the vaccine. So what's Joe Biden going to do? Eliminate the tip of the spear of the United States military? These guys trained for 20 years to get to the positions they're in. What are we going to do when they're excised from the military because Biden said you didn't take the vaccine mandate? It's unrealistic. You can't replace those guys overnight. And not just them, that's just the operational arm of the United States military that does some of our most dangerous operations. What about the subject matter experts at the highest levels of the military, be it in the nuclear program, the submarine program, the satellite programs? A lot of these folks don't want to be mandated to take the vaccine. I've talked to them. What's he going to do? Subject American national security to the interest of his executive order mandate? I think you're going to see the administration blink because the military will be in the right, and I think you're going to see military members stand up and also seek a determination in federal court for their rights, because they have the same rights as everybody else does under a different set of rules sometimes because of the Military and Uniform Code of Justice, but they still have due process rights. They still have rights to under HIPAA and everything else regarding their health and what they can and can't do. So it's interesting. I don't see how President Biden makes the United States military get the COVID vaccine.
You know, it just also makes me think of the Seattle Police Department. The union is basically saying there's going to be kind of a devastating loss of personnel if these mandates kind of go through.
Yeah.
And they've already had a devastating loss with the autonomous zone. I think it's something like north of 300 police officers actually quit after that, from what I understand, which is, you know.
Yeah, I mean, and then the question for the courts will be, you know, what is more important in terms of DOD, the national security of the United States, or this executive order about vaccine mandates, and transferring that to law enforcement, where I also served at the Department of Justice. What's more important? Policing our neighborhoods and having police to do that ability, or making them take a vaccine? You can't replace, it's not as if you can replace these people overnight. If one or two leave, it's still a problem because they still have rights that need to be adjudicated by the courts. But we're talking about hundreds, if not thousands of people across the country. You can't replace the military folks. You can't replace law enforcement folks in that fashion. It's just impossible. So I think there's a very good argument for them to stay in their jobs. And that's what I think will happen. They'll likely stay in their jobs while these court challenges go to court and get into these things called injunctions and whatnot, where there's a stay or pause of the mandate by the president, by the courts of the president's mandate. And basically the courts will say, well, we're going to decide while it's being decided, while people are arguing both sides, lawyers and everything, we're going to hold off on making you get a vaccine.
Well, and to your point, I think a judge just prevented United Airlines from basically doing that. So
like United is one of the large companies. Boeing just issued a mandate. They've got 140,000 employees that they're saying have to be vaccinated. Boeing's one of the largest companies on planet Earth. It's the biggest company in the defense industrial complex, which I'm very familiar with. And United, also huge employer, not just in America, but around the world. And they mandated the vaccine. And so a lot of those people, those are private citizens, right? They're not law enforcement, they're not military, these are private citizens, and there's a lot of them. And their companies telling them, you can't have a job, basically, unless you get this vaccine. And that, I think, is also a court challenge for a whole different set of reasons than the mandate. That doesn't even necessarily, I guess the companies are saying, because of the mandate, we, Boeing, we, United, are saying our employees are mandated. Maybe that's how they convinced themselves that that was okay to do. I disagree with it, but I think those court cases for their employees are also, as you said, United's already in court, and the federal judge issued a stay saying, well, we're not going to be able to decide this in the near term because there's too many arguments, too much information that has to be presented to the judge before he can make an actual decision. So he said, pause, there's an injunction. Everybody at United can continue to work as if there was no mandate until he makes his ruling. And then here's what's going to happen as soon as he makes his ruling. It doesn't matter who wins or loses, it's going to get appealed to the Federal Circuit Court, and that's going to get appealed to the U.S. Supreme Court. So it's going up there.